Hello there, welcome back. This is a buck 110. I received this knife from Buck as kind of a replacement knife. I will link the video that I did about it in the description if I can think of it. When I actually post this, but it was sent to me as kind of sort of a replacement for this knife since I've had since 2002. Now you can see that it is much shorter than that knife, and it's seen a lot of use. And there's a story behind this. Like I said, I'll link to it if I can think of it. But I still use this knife. But when I got this knife, Buck has their edge on it. It still has Buck's edge on it. And it's sharp. Good and sharp. But it is basically a belt sander edge. That's the way most factories will sharpen their knife. They don't spend a lot of time freehand sharpening or polishing the edge of a knife. So what I want to do is I want to remove that factory finish, because that's just the beginning of what I find acceptable. It's acceptable sharpness wise, but it is not acceptable the way that the bevel is. Sorry. Belt sander is not an acceptable finish on a knife for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, since this is a belt sander, but it has a good sharp edge, and I'm going to start with, let me make sure I got the right side, because there are two different sides. Yeah, I did. I'm going to start with my soft Arkansas, and I'm just going to, I'm not really sharpening this blade. I'm basically just refining this edge. So how's everybody doing? I hope all right. Alright, what I'm going to do now, I've hit that a few times. What I will do before I continue on is I want to look at this bevel and just see what's happening and whether I am maintaining the angle that this knife was sharpened at. Now you can change that, and I do sometimes, but this will work just fine. This angle will work just fine. And yeah, I'm hitting. Now I'm using a loop. You ought to buy one of these. They're cheap. You can get them for like $6 on Amazon. Anybody find any new hobbies? We've got this pandemic going on, and some of us have got a lot of free time on their hands. What are you doing with it? Now I'm going to look again, because what I want to do is I'm looking to see how fast this stone is working on the scratch pattern that that belt sander created on this blade. And okay, now I'm going to change. I'm going to set that to the side. And I'm going to break out my Norton IB8 on the fine side because it will smooth out those scratches faster. And then I can come to my soft and refine that. What it is, the belt sander, because it looks like they use like a 60 grit belt. It leaves really deep grooves, striations, valleys, gouges, ditches, whatever you want to call it, in the edge bevel. I want them gone. I want the edge, the bevel, smoothed out. And once I achieve that, which shouldn't take very long on this stone, then I'll move to my soft Arkansas and smooth that out even more. And you see, I'm not getting in any kind of hurry. I'm being very careful how I lay that bevel onto the stone. This is key to good technique every time you sharpen. Alright, let me see what that's doing. If I can find my loop. Yeah, it won't take much longer. And what I can do and all I'm doing there is just changing the way I do it. A lot of times what I will do is I'll do this type of thing. Once again, I'm cleaning my stone when I put that lubricant on it as I go. But a lot of times I'll do one side till I get a burr. When I'm first starting to sharpen a blade, I recommend that starting out, because that burr, understanding that burr and knowing how to get it is a really important part of honing. And then once I get that burr, I'll switch to alternating strokes like I was doing when I first started. To remove that burr and refine the edge. But now the reason I switched to it here is because I was getting the bevel smoothed that up here, but it wasn't smoothing all that well here. So now I want to see what difference that might have made. Yeah, it's coming along, but I am ever so slightly changing the angle of this bevel because of the natural way that my hand lays. That's not a problem. It's not an issue. Matter of fact, I prefer that because subsequent sharpenings will be easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to single-sided sharpening. And raise a burr, just like if I were starting an edge over. Because technically I am. Because I'm changing the bevel angle. And that's another thing, in my opinion, you need to learn, is that sometimes you start out with a plan when it comes to sharpening. But you need to be flexible enough to understand when something is working and when it's not, or when you need to change your approach for whatever reason. That might suit the knife more. Also, if you watch, I'm kind of changing my stroke as well. I was coming at a bit of an angle and doing this, but if you look, I don't know if you can see, but remember with the marine knives the sharpening of the marine knife, if you look, this blade doesn't have a choil. And so right here, if you're not careful, you're going to cause a recurve. So I'm coming, so I changed my approach so that I'm coming down the stone a bit like that before I pull this way. Try to keep that as straight as possible. And I'm beginning burr, burr, burr. Still need a little bit here. But I'm beginning to develop a burr. A small one. I like them small. They're easier to deal with. Alright, that should have given me a burr. Yeah. I'm checking with my thumbnail. All the way across the edge. And I'm going to look at this edge again. Oh yeah. Striations are gone. I can see the burr on the other side of on this side of the edge. So now I'm going to flip it over and start on the other side. And I will be back when we switch to the soft. Alright, we've reprofiled this edge to fit the way my hand holds that knife when I sharpen. It's got a good sharp edge on it, and I've removed the burr with alternating strokes passes on this fine India. So what I'm going to do now, this is what we do with an oil stone. We rub that, whatever we use as a lubricant, into the stone really well to try to pull every drop of, or every speck of embedded metal, filings, or anything of the sort out of that stone. This is the way you clean an oil stone. Then we take a rag and we wipe it dry. Now, when I get done with the honing session, I will take this stone and any other stone that I use, and with warm water and a bristle brush, I'll scrub this clean. Now, you can do what you want. A lot of guys don't do that after every honing session. It's personal preference. I like my stuff to stay clean. And I want any kind of lint or crap that might be on this rag, any kind of grit or anything like that, off of this stone. So I'll scrub it and set it up on its edge on the counter and just let it dry naturally. I will not wipe it with anything. I don't care whether I think the cloth is clean or not. It's not happening. So we're going to set this aside. And we're going to move back to my soft Arkansas. And start polishing this edge a bit. Doesn't really need it. I could come off that 400 now that I don't have any pits or scratches or anything like that in the bevel, and I'd be just fine. But I want a little bit more. So we're going to go with the soft, and we're going to do alternating strokes, because what I'm going to do, I'm just refining and beginning to polish this bevel on the soft Arkansas, although I would not really call a soft Arkansas finish a polished finish. This is the start of it, in my opinion. And a soft Arkansas's edge is perfectly fine for something like this. And I've said before, that Norton stone I just used and this stone, if this is all you had the rest of your life, to sharpen your knives with, you'd get fantastic edges that you could be well satisfied with. But sometimes I will take a knife to a higher finish, and I am going to go to just a little bit higher finish on this edge. Once again, I'm being conscious this knife does not have a choil, and I want to keep this line straight. I love buck. I know they're kind of passe now to the modern knife collectors and stuff. They've gotten into the, you know, a lot of the knife collectors have gotten into what I would consider boutique knives that have harder steels and all of that. So, you know, buck is not really, in those circles, buck is not really considered anything special, 428C steel, but in my opinion, buck knows how to heat treat this steel. They've been using it a long time. For me, they hold an edge. I've used this knife off their factory edge. I didn't just sit this in a corner somewhere and not fool with it until now. It was still way sharp, shaving the hair off of my arm when I took it to these stones. So, and they're an American company that's been around a long time, and you know, there are a few brands, USA Buck, the old timers, which they're not the same company now, no matter what anybody says. They're not. Case. Just to name the three probably most popular. And when I say old timer, I mean old timer, or Uncle Henry. Either one. They were the same. They were from the same company. And they were good quality knives. And, you know, it was not uncommon at all that an old country boy would save up his dollars so he could afford a buck or one or the other of those knives. And I've used them a long time and still love them. Now, we're going to move to Hard, Arkansas to finish this edge. Now, I try to teach at least a little bit of something in every video that I do. And hopefully I've passed on good information to you in this one. And a lot of times it is just reviewing basic things as well. That's something that you can never discount the value of, is just reviewing basic. See, there's a reason techniques are called basic techniques. Basic as in base. They're the base or the foundation on everything else that you do in whatever art or craft it is, whatever technique you're using. So I'm a big believer in basics, because that's the foundation of everything else. It's what everything is built on. But I also recognize that, you know, just like me, some of you just want to see someone sharpen. I really enjoy watching someone sharpen a knife. It's almost therapeutic. And I just saw a piece, I can't find it now, it's probably on the edge of the blade, so I'm gonna clean that off. I just saw a piece of wire from the bevel. So there was, here it is. There was a bit of bevel wire still left after that. Soft. That's one of the reasons once I come off the initial stone that I initially set my bevel with, I move to alternating strokes, because I want every tiny bit of that burr to be removed. And that was a small burr. It wasn't really heavy. Sometimes a heavy burr can be a pain in the rear end to get off of a blade. But you want to remove that burr. That's how you get the optimal edge on your blade. Now that burr might have come off, you know, in the subsequent stropping that I do after each sharpening. Some guys don't strop every time they sharpen. I always, well, 95% of the time, I will finish on a strop. If I'm sharpening a really cheap knife, I might forego the stropping because I don't think the steel will appreciate that level of polish. You know, some steels, especially cheap steels, believe it or not, benefit from a rougher edge or a less polished edge. So, alright, that looks, to the naked eye, that bevel looks gorgeous. Wonder what this tells me. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Nice even bevel. Very flippin' sharp. Oh yeah. And yeah, I was shaving hair off my arm. That's it. I'll take this to a strop and I'll be done. And I will be doing a basic knife maintenance video that includes stropping what I do. I will put the video of these two knives, that video I was talking about that tells the story behind these two, at the end of this video. I'll just incorporate it. Thanks for watching. Bless you. I'll talk to you later. Hello there. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. I believe that I did in one of my videos, one of my knife videos. But I sent a Buck 110 anniversary model to Buck 6 or 8 weeks ago, something like that. I had broken the blade on it a long time ago and reshaped the tip of it, and it was used and abused because I don't baby my knives. And I thought, well, Buck has a forever warranty. Let's go ahead and take advantage of that. The warranty did not cover breaking the blade though, but it was cheap, $10 to have a blade replaced, and I think another $6 to have it polished and sharpened. So for $16, so let's see what it looks like if I can get it open. Alright, fine. No more monkeying around. We're just going to do that right there. What is this? This is an invoice. Replacement. Okay. No sheath, broken tip, sharpen, polish, and adjust. It says replacement 110 BRS. I don't want you to ruin your collectible by replacing with this year's blade. We cleaned her up and made her safe to carry, or you can retire her and use this one. To check that out. I thought it was a bit heavier. They gave me a Buck knife. They gave me a new knife. That's incredible. Look here. This is the new one. That's gorgeous. I can't believe they did that. See, the old knife was a collector's model, and I broke it, and they've redone the tip even nicer than I had on it, put a really nice edge on it. But I mean, you can see I've used this knife. It's not been babied or nor anything like that. So that's fantastic. I want to tell you something right now. Buck knives, stand by their warranty. That's awesome. They didn't have to do this right here, but they did. Incredible. Alright. Thank you. Kudos to Buck. That's fantastic. Later.